One of the most surprising things for people was that Iuno ended up inadvertently helping out our 80-year-old tea-loving Tai Chi auntie, Jianxin. She really took that advice from those AI Tai Chi ads I see. This is a joke, don't click on those, they're scams just like those shit AI game ads. Anywho, she takes advantage of some of Iuno's mechanics in the Blessing of Wands universal buff and the heavy damage buff. She additionally buffs liberation damage for Iuno, which turns her into the nuke coughing baby sphere. With this in mind, I want to ask, Kuro, is this how you're going to be buffing old units without actually having to touch them? Because if this is the case, can you not do this? Look, I'm all for having rejuvenated synergies and teams brought back into the game with new units, but I have a problem when those units act as band-aids for problems that are inherent to them. For example, Iuno doesn't fix the general playstyle problem I and a nice handful of people have with Jianxin. She's clunky in how her forte works, and her grouping capabilities are there, I guess. Her liberation is generally weak, and her counter, while satisfying, doesn't really compare to someone like Zani, for example. Her playstyle just, in my opinion, hasn't kept up, and I don't think anyone would complain about additions to her kit. Some kind of stance change, in my opinion, would be the coolest path for her. I mean, we all know that other martial artists exist in Huanglong, like literally Yuan Wu does boxing in Jinzhou. It would make sense for Jianxin to go from the Tai Chi style of martial arts to maybe something more explosive. It could leverage erosion too as a mechanic and have that be tied with actual reasoning behind why and how she's able to use it. They've shown too that they are capable of doing this with Rover in both a small case with Frazzle being given to us back in 2.0 and in bigger cases in story beats where they get new elements as a whole. I'd want to see these kinds of changes in old units too as ways to continue having them be at least a little bit relevant. Based on the direction we're going now, it's gonna be seemingly difficult relying on echoes as a way to power up old units too. Things that have been added are rather overtly meant for the newest characters. You may find some niche cases every so often, but things are catered more and more towards featured units out for that patch. There's been some small increases like the Nightmare boss echoes helping with ease of use so you're not needing to finish transforming combos to get the buff for the character. There's also some 3-cost echoes which are preferable or at a minimum desirable to use, and that wasn't something we got back in Jinzhou. Nobody was clamoring for using Flautist as a main slot echo. But in terms of actual sets, things have stayed relatively the same. Even the best case with Windward Pilgrimage and Eternal Radiance, Kuro is still requiring you to have an additional unit with a debuff mechanic to have things be spruced up. Even then too, with something like Eternal Radiance, the applicator is the one who's getting the benefits, unlike Windward where you just need to hit an enemy afflicted with the debuff. Until we either get easily accessible 4-star debuffers or integrated debuffs into old units, these sets will remain as shaky options. They won't be alternative sets or boosts in power for older units until the debuff system is finished and expanded on a bit after its integration, I think. As a side note relating to debuffs too, I do hope that we get more units like Ciacconas and having possession of more than one debuff. I tell you, it is so helpful and you don't realize it until you have it, kinda like a condom. Regardless though, Iuno has given a small shake to things by having Jianxin be a very strong unit paired with her. But that to me bodes ill of the future if this is a potential solution that'll be in place of fixing the actual problem with old units. All I have to say is that I hope I'm wrong. By the way, as a somewhat side tangent, Kuro, can you update Jiyan's pull animation? Like holy, it's the most underwhelming 5-star premier unit summon animation ever, and it does a huge disservice for our general. Hook this sexy man up. You can't give him huge tits, title, and dragon for it to be this lame. Jiyan deserves better. Anywho, what do you all think about this? Do you see where I'm coming from? As always, thank you for letting me take your time, like and sub, and be safe out there.